Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Welcome everybody, another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. Today it's gonna be all Dutch, your favorite country of course, the Netherlands. I am here by myself with Renate from a small village in the middle of nowhere in Holland. We always make fun of them because they have a very strange accent. And welcome to the show, Renate.
Thank you for having me.
So Renate is a fellow travel blogger. Just like me, she travels the world and writes stories about her travels on her travel blog. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up traveling?
All right. Well, I travel because I like to wander around. That's also why I call my blog that Wanderlust. I like to explore destinations, and I'm very curious, and so are my readers. So, I like to explore every little part of a country, and especially the local part of it, and get to know the culture.
So a lot of people ask me, how am I able to travel? Because most people have jobs and they go on holiday once or twice a year. So how does that work for you?
I make my job out of it. So I always try to get invited to nice travels.
How do you get invited?
Because I write and I create captivating media. So I'll be taking photos and videos of very nice destinations and things you can do there. I'll write reviews. I'll basically prepare your holiday.
You basically turned your passion into your job.
Yep, definitely.
That's great. Mm-hmm. And during your travels, you have stayed at Airbnb places in the past, correct?
I did, yeah.
That's awesome.
I stayed, sorry?
That's awesome because this show is about Airbnb. Mm-hmm. And we've been interviewing mostly hosts so far, but we thought it would be interesting to invite some travel experts to the show and get their perspective on what it is like to stay in somebody's house and why do travelers like to stay in Airbnb places versus a hotel. So my first question will be, what made you want to try out Airbnb?
I always look for the local culture. I want to experience the norms and values of a destination. Basically the culture. So I thought I should be able to stay with local people. And that's when I was asking around about my desires, and someone told me about Airbnb because it's something that allows you to stay with local people.
Right, and it's just a different experience staying with a local versus staying in a hotel. Have you met a lot of cool people through Airbnb?
Definitely. I stayed, for example, in Argentina. I stayed at a hotel because there was nothing. I wanted to stay in a hostel, but nothing was available. And I started looking on Airbnb for a better place to stay than that hotel. And then I found a guy living in Bariloche, and he was living there with his sister. So this family, they invited me to their home through Airbnb, and I stayed there for a few days and kept on adding days. And I went back and we became friends. And I could go there for dinner, sleep. It was basically my second home in Argentina.
And did they still charge you, or did they let you stay for free at some point?
No, they didn't actually. They stopped charging me, but I kept on paying them because I feel like it's still their job and they're just making the best service out of it.
And you mentioned a place called Bariloche.
Yes.
I've heard about this place. It's supposed to be a very special place. It's in Argentina, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's close to the 7 lakes of Argentina. It's in Patagonia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very very touristic for the students because they have a lot of spring holiday breaks, things like that. So it's quite touristy. But then in the low season, like when it's when there's a lot of snow, or in the hot summer when it's very warm, you can do so many different things. So for example, I love to be able to go to the lakes to sit there in the sun, but also to be able to go up to the mountains and walk up into the snow in the same week.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to check it out sometime. Is it far from Buenos Aires, or?
It was about 24 hours in the bus.
Oh, okay, that's pretty.
So you have to be up for that.
That's pretty doable.
It is actually. The buses are great there. You get a nice bed. They'll give you food.
you get a bed in the bus?
Well, I'm not that. How should I call that? I don't have high expectations of a bed, but it's actually just a seat that's.
I was going to say it's about expectation management.
Yeah, that's it. That's all about traveling, right?
And expectation management is also important when you're staying at Airbnb places, because one of the things that we recommend to hosts is that they always make a very accurate description of their home and not to oversell, because you're basing your expectations on what you see in the description and on the listing. And the thing that we always recommend is under promise and over deliver to create a good guest experience. So the places that you've stayed at on Airbnb, would you say they were accurate representations of the listings, or was it even better, or were you disappointed sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. I had different experience in Brazil, for example. Mm-hmm. So I think I stayed at someone's home, which they gave me their entire house basically, and I was expecting to get the room. So in one way that was good because I got the entire house.
I was going to say that's terrible.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I was traveling by myself, so I'm staying in the big house by myself in a very dangerous town. So that wasn't really the idea.
Okay, where was this?
This was in Recife.
Recife. Ah, okay, right.
Yeah.
Fairly big city on the northern eastern coast of Brazil.
True, but then on the other hand, for example, in Rio, I stayed at an apartment of a lady during the carnival season. Mm-hmm. And everything looked very nice on the photos, and she was very nice with getting in touch with each other. But then when I arrived, she did so many extra things, like she sent me text messages every day about the local carnival celebrations around the corner. She kind of treated me like as if she was my travel guide.
That's great. And that's one of the reasons why you use Airbnb, to get those local recommendations and to get that contact with a local.
Definitely. Like that woman, she really made the experience of staying in Rio de Janeiro during Carnival, she made it different, more personal, and I saw the local way. Because of her, I saw places that normal tourists don't go to. And the same goes for other places I've stayed with Airbnb. It's all a unique experience.
Right, and just out of curiosity, when you had a less positive experience, was that reflected in the review that you wrote, or did you leave the host with a review?
Actually, I had that one bad experience. I did not write a review, and the host also did not write a review because we did not really get off the right foot.
Right.
So we kind of just ignored it, the entire situation. I guess that happens as well.
Interesting. So, because this is something that hosts worry about sometimes, getting a negative review. But I've noticed myself that when I have guests staying in my place and something goes wrong, even if it's outside of my control, because my guests know that I'm trying to be the best host I can be, and I'm trying to do everything I can to make their experience a really good one. If something goes wrong, they often don't leave me a review at all. And I've never had a bad review.
Yeah, I guess that's also depends on the culture. Well, basically, the Dutch people, I think, we are more complaining. But in this case, I didn't complain because it wasn't something that was really her fault. Like, all right, I'll give you more details.
Yeah, what happened? Tell us.
A thief entered in the house where I was sleeping at night.
Oh.
And so I felt very unsafe, but that wasn't really her mistake. It was a bad neighborhood, so yeah.
Who was this person?
This was a young woman. She had a second house and she rented it out.
No, I mean the person that entered the house.
Oh, just a thief.
Oh, just a thief. Okay.
I don't know the person.
I like how you said that. Oh, it's just a thief. You know, I was just sleeping in a house in Brazil, and just a thief walked in. You know. So.
Yeah. I felt like that.
Well, but what happened? Did he come into your room, or did he steal something, or did you see him, or how do I?
No, luckily he didn't enter into my room. He just went inside the house and took the big TV and walked out the front door. He left me alone. But in the morning we realized that the TV was gone, and that was a bit weird, right? That you're staying in some place that you don't know, and then someone enters the house. So yeah, I did feel that was, I think, one of the first moments in my life while traveling that I had something like, I'm not supposed to be here. I should leave.
Right.
So I didn't write a review anymore about her. Yeah, because it was like a really strange situation.
Right.
She was fine. The woman was nice, but yeah, the place wasn't nice.
But did you sort of blame it on your hosts, or I mean, you know, you can't really keep the burglar out, I guess, if he really wants to enter the house, or was it just like a case of bad security, like maybe no lock on the door, or?
No, the thief cut a wired fence with electricity, so he really did his best. He really did his best to get into the house. The house had good security. But the thing was, what happened between me and the host is that afterwards I still had a couple of days left to stay, and I already wanted to leave.
Right.
And I already paid for those days, and I said, well, I don't feel safe here anymore, so I want to leave.
Right.
And then I don't want to pay anymore for the night. I'm not going to stay here.
Sounds fair enough.
Yeah.
And then what did you say?
Of course, she wasn't pleased with that because it was not her mistake either. But Airbnb, fortunately, became, how should I say? Airbnb came in the middle, and they gave us both what we wanted.
They gave you both what you wanted, so they paid they paid the host, and they gave you your money back. Yeah. Oh, that's a great result. Did you use the Airbnb resolution tool for this?
I'm not quite sure. I think I sent an email somewhere on the website. I'm not sure if it was some tool or anything. I think it was just like a customer service email address I had.
Right. Okay, so
that was a good solution.
That's interesting because I've never heard of a situation where Airbnb actually intervened and paid the host and the guest. It's usually what happens if you use the Airbnb resolutions tool is that Airbnb will sort of make a decision either in your favor or in the favor of the host. So that's interesting. I guess they realized that it wasn't your fault and it wasn't really the host's fault as well. So it's very it's nice that they solved it that way.
Yep. Yeah, that was very good.
Interesting. So you would you say Airbnb is a very a cost-effective way to travel compared to paying for a hotel or a hostel?
Yeah, I do, because I think that when you stay at a hotel, you well, it depends on what kind of traveler you are. But in my case, I want to get in touch with the local people or with people in any kind of way. And if you're in a hotel, you just see the receptionist and the people that maybe work at the restaurant or something. But if you stay at someone's home, you can meet the people if they're there. If they're not there, then at least you have. Then you get to experience the vibe of the local people's life, because you get. I like it that you get sucked inside the life of the local,
Right.
even if they're not there. So you see the norms and the values of them, and
Yeah, you
think that's definitely
you get a taste of what local life looks like.
yes.
And one advantage of staying in an Airbnb place is that you don't have to go out for dinner. You usually have access to a kitchen and you can prepare your own meals, and you have a little bit more space to sort of hang out and do some work if you need to.
True. I enjoyed also the possibility of being able to work at the living room or in the kitchen or whatever. The cooking part, maybe not really my thing. So sometimes I joined the family, or I joined the person who was hosting his place, and other times I would still go for dinner. So, but
Right.
I think that's also good that you have access to basically anything you would have back home if you want to.
Mm-hmm. And one of the great things about traveling is trying the local delicacies. So you definitely do want to eat out sometimes.
Yes, you do. But yeah, like when I stayed in Argentina, this family was making the local barbecue, the parrillada, and they invited me over. So no need for me to go out for dinner. That was great.
That's awesome, and the meat is very good in Argentina. I can definitely say that. I've been to Buenos Aires a couple times, and I don't know if you've been, but there's a restaurant in Palermo called La Cabrera, and I definitely had the best steak of my life there, and it was very cheap too.
All right, yeah, Buenos Aires, Argentina. It's not. I think it's not that expensive. That's good for the food.
So,
Definitely.
what are some other really cool places that you've been to? I know you've traveled mostly through South America recently.
Yeah. I think Latin America, South America is my favorite place, my favorite continent. I also really enjoyed spending time in Singapore, for example, which many find very weird, because I spent time there a little bit more than I was supposed to, because there was a big ash cloud above Iceland, so I couldn't fly back home.
Right, I remember.
You remember the volcano?
Yeah, I actually hiked that volcano last year.
Oh, look at you go.
I can't pronounce it. It's called something like Fsnasnasnanyukkel or something.
That's the one. Well, that one is the one that erupted when I was in Singapore, so I couldn't fly home. And it gave me the opportunity to spend more time, and I really fell in love with that country. So that was also, for me, that was a really cool place, because I got to see so many things you would normally not visit. That was really cool. I really love Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, so Africa and Asia is also very interesting for me. I think everything has something unique, as long as you can see the culture.
Right, and it sounds like you really prefer the sort of the non-Western countries to travel to.
Yeah, I do like Scandinavia a lot, but I wouldn't really choose to go to a Western country if I would have to book a holiday. But yeah, the Scandinavian countries I do find appealing.
Right. So you've stayed in Recife in an Airbnb place, and you stayed in Bariloche. If I pronounced that correctly. What are some other places where you've stayed with Airbnb?
Rio de Janeiro.
Right. Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Sorry?
You did mention that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which others. because I know I have been using Airbnb like since a couple of months actually, so I haven't been using it a lot yet.
Right.
And I might be forgetting some places, but I know definitely those are the 3 ones that I remember very well.
And I imagine you remember the one with the thief. You'll probably never forget that.
Oh yeah, that was. But the good thing was, like, it didn't give me a bad feeling about Airbnb. I still like it and still used it.
Right.
But yeah.
So what if you were to give some advice as a traveler to the hosts that are listening, what would that be?
The host could provide something like a list. It could be perhaps online, or they can print it out if they're not at home and leave it at the kitchen table, where you can see as a guest like where to go to, which restaurant is good around the corner, if you want to order some food, stay in, where to do that. Like a kind of little list with some points that you would use as a local. Mm-hmm. For the guest. I think I like that a lot when I got that during the carnival. So
right. Yeah, that's typical. And we always recommend our hosts to send our guests a guidebook. My guidebook is about 30 pages, so it's pretty extensive. And it's funny that you mention it, because I always get a lot of feedback from guests. They really like receiving that information, and I think it's because half of the fun of going on a trip or going on a holiday is looking forward to it.
Definitely.
So if you get a guide with restaurant recommendations and recommendations for places to go, you naturally will look them up on the internet, and you start building up that excitement of actually going there, and I think I always have this when I go on a trip. I look forward to it, and I think having this information really helps sort of build up the excitement for the trip. So that's a good point, and I like your suggestion of not just putting in some recommendations, but also some more practical things, like how do you order food?
Yeah. Because
a lot of places I know these days you have apps for that. Like I was in Colombia earlier this year, and it turned out there was this website that was sort of an aggregator. Like it had all these different restaurants, and you could just order whatever you want. And they had a taxi application that you could use to order taxis. So these are like more practical things that can also be really useful.
Yeah, because I think what you mean, like a normal guidebook would also explain about what to do with the garbage and whatever, where to leave this and that. Right, like kind of rules.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's I like that, because I know many of the places they prepare your room and you're welcome and that's it. Well, it's nice, but it would be good, if you get like a guidance. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Great. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
I think as long as everyone is honest, then the way it's working right now, it's good enough. I think, good enough maybe doesn't sound very nice, but I think it's a very nice service. Sometimes I do believe that the prices are quite high. I see places, that the room isn't that nice, and then if you compare it to a hotel, the price of the hotel is cheaper, so it really can be difficult to compare the prices, and to decide if you're going to stay at an Airbnb place with a local person or with a different vibe or at a hotel. But the entire system for me works great.
Right. Yeah, and I think a few years ago Airbnb tended to be really cheap, because I think people just hadn't got on to the sort of the potential that's out there. Comparing to a hotel, it used to be really cheap, and I think a lot of hosts are catching on to it. They start realizing that they can increase their income by raising prices. So I believe it's getting a little bit more expensive recently, but that will also attract more people to get on the platform. So eventually, I'm sure it will probably drop down again.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's where the prices keep on rising, and yeah, that's normal also, right? I think as long as it's not like if you want a how do you call it, a penthouse or anything like that, you're gonna pay a lot of money. But
Right.
if you want a simple bedroom in Barcelona, you shouldn't pay more than maybe, I don't know, 30 euros or something. I would find already quite a lot.
Right. Well, Barcelona is an expensive city, of course.
That's true. Yeah. Maybe I have Latin America in my head.
Right. Everything is a little bit cheaper there. So, when you were back in Holland, where do you live? Do you have your own house, or are you renting a place, or would you stay with family, or what's your situation?
Yeah. I stay in my own house. I'm not planning to stay here quite longer. I want to stay in an apartment where I can just close the door and go away because I'm not home that much.
Mm-hmm. So naturally, I'm curious to know, what do you do with your house when you're traveling? Is it empty?
Yeah, it's empty.
Aha.
Kinda.
Now you can probably sense where this conversation is going.
Yes. Well, that's also why I'm telling you that it's empty, kinda, because it's empty, like in a way of there's no person. But I think I have a lot of things. So it's I think it's too chaotic to share this house with strangers.
I see. And have you ever considered tidying up your place, maybe storing some of your 40 or 50 pairs of shoes at your parents' place or in a storage unit, and then renting it out and trying to make some extra money for your travels?
I think this house is a different project, but I'll get an apartment after this, and there I'll definitely arrange things that I can put it on Airbnb, list it.
Mm-hmm. So you think the house where you currently live is not suitable for Airbnb?
Yeah, this house isn't.
Because it's too messy?
Yeah, it's too many things here. I have, for example, one room filled with things of my sister, who tends to move a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, that makes it not quite easy to share space.
Right, if your sister randomly walks in to grab some of her stuff, then that's something that guests will probably not really appreciate.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Renate, let's finish this call. Let's let our users or our listeners know how they can find out more about you.
All right. Well, if you want to read more about travels, especially to Latin America, and if you're curious and an independent traveler, especially then, look me up on www.thatwanderlust.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Twitter, and actually any other kind of social media. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a message or any question. If you have, let me know.
And just for your information, Renate always responds within 1 minute. So if you send her a message, you get something back right away.
I try.
Awesome. So I'll put the website and your contact details in the show notes so that people can check you out. Thanks everybody for listening. As always, if you want to find out more information, there's all these different places where you can look. getpaidforyourpad.com/podcasts is where you can see all the different episodes. You can go to our YouTube channel where we have some awesome videos. Just search for Get Paid for Your Pad on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find it. And of course, we have our book on Amazon that's been a #1 bestseller for a few weeks now. So make sure to check that out. And if you prefer to listen, go to getpaidforyourpad.com/audio-book, where you can get the audiobook 100% for free. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pet. Get paid for your pet. Get paid for your pet. Get paid for